you have to at least about as a volume you have at least to put a picture for your payload in order to know the height and the width and the thickness of the port. If you have also 3D model, you could edit in these sections, and you have to mention about part distributions, so we could know at which place you could put your components. Submission just picture in this phase in these sections. Maybe you could add a text for more information about this section. So that's for the mass and volume. But also we have some updates about the APRS payload. So for here, we have a new dimension. So your payload dimension is gonna to be 79 by 81. And also it has a specific thickness. So the total thickness for your payload, it will be 13.6 millimeter. And that's the total heights, but the PCB board itself, it has like 1.6 millimeter, and the component height, it will be 12. So for the total, it will be 13.6 millimeter. And the maximum mass for the your payload is 90 grams. The third part is the concept of operation. In the concept of operations, actually, we asked you for the first phase about the concept of operations, but in this phase, we asking you for more details. So you have to mention about the flow process of each working mode, and also to show the full process from its beginning until its end. So at the beginning, we are going to activate your port by mission pause, and the first component it will gonna to work is your MCU. After activating your MCU, you have to mention about which component are gonna to work, and at which time it will gonna to work, and what is the purpose for this working. So for that, you have to mention task definition by component, and also you have to make it in sequence. So at the beginning, this component, it will be start, and after that, it will be like sending this data for the other, and so on. Here is just an example for distributor mode. So that's two modes for activation and shutdown, but you have to mention all the modes that your board is gonna work. The last part is link budget. So the link budget is about the communication and it is availability. It is depends on your transceiver. So to complete this section, you have to make a test for your transceiver, like power output and its sensitivity. So that's just an example for link budget uplink. And here you could see that's data from for ground station and Dragonfly satellite, but you have only to estimate to make a test for your transceiver for the sensitivity. So you can measure your uplink. And here also that's for downlink. So also you need to care about the power output of your transceiver, and you could add it here. But all of these parameters are constant because it is the ground station for in Japan and also for Dragonfly satellite. If you have your ground station, maybe you could change it according to your ground station. But otherwise, you need only to be careful about your transceiver output. The second section is the safety compliance. So as your payload will be integrated with our satellite, so you have to avoid interference. And this interference, like it will be mechanically or electrically. In order to avoid that, you have to maybe mention that you are going to check the ICT, or maybe you are going to make RF shielding. That's the section. The section is about isolation system. So as you know, our satellite have 7 APRS payloads. So if any failure could be happen for the satellite, could be affect the other ports. And so for that, we are asking you to make isolation system in case of emergency. And you have to mention what kind of emergency could be happened and what kind of isolation system you are gonna to use, and also how your isolation system could be worked. So that's for the schedule. We are asking you to make a schedule as to mention all the tasks that you are gonna to make until developing your payload. And in this schedule, you have to mention when this task it will be done. And also you have to mention the status of these tasks. That's this is just example. So here that's a schedule per month, but as we gonna to asking you to mention all the tasks, maybe you have to make a schedule, a weekly schedule, and you have to mention here the status as it's seen here. Also, we are asking you to show your effort for outreach. So if you already make like social media accounts, you have to submit this. And also you need to mention your future plan, like attending conference or making some workshops or making local competitions, something like this. And this is just example for the outreach from BirdX team, like this. That's from our website. And also here, that's announcement from Space in Africa about our competition. So after the submissions of your, after the submission of your applications, we are gonna to announce the result of this phase on social media, like so you have to follow us on this account. And also for the updates for the Dragonfly satellite, you have to check the ICD. We are gonna to upload it soon. And also if you have still have questions after this webinar, you have to send us email on this email. So we are replying only for that email, not on other emails. So now my presentation is finished and we have a free time for questions. So thank you for listening. Mm-hmm.
Hello, everyone. So please, if you have some question, let us know right now. All the BirdX team is here present to answer to your questions. So raise your hand or please write in the chat and we will like go back one by one. For the first question, there was a question from Gerald. It was if we could give a rundown on the assigned pins to connect. So right now the person that is in charge of the pin assignment will give you a detailed explanation of the table that we presented in there. Okay. So yes, I'm sorry, we're experiencing some technical difficulties, but we will open the table right now.
So to answer that question, so I'm going to explain each pin function. Sorry. So this first three pin, you can use this three pin for programming your MCU. So you need to program your MCU before the delivery the satellite to Jector. So we are going to program your MCU according to your software. So we are going to program through these three pins. So you need to assign the three pin to program. For example, yeah, I just show here. So for example, if the number one pin can be used for master clear pin, so in that case, your board design in the schematic, you must need to connect the MC clear line to pin number one, something like that. So this three pin you can use for program, but you can use the design. So the number it doesn't matter, but we need to assign the programming pin is 1, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then so about the power line, the 13, 14, 15, 16, 23 to 26, and 35, 36, 49, 50. This is all regarding to the power supply or grounding. So actually, this line is, as Sam mentioned, this power line is a common thing for subsystems. So including bus system, they will use many kind of power supply, and they will catch the power from these pins. For example, if we need this underground is used for urgent deployment, but so when they will use the satellites will use these lines. They will catch the power from these pins. So these power pins is a common thing for all whole subsystems. So you cannot change this assign. So this is just for power supply, and this this is the ground power supply for high voltage. Unregulated one is unregulated 2. It's used for bus system, and the power supply 3.32. This is for mission. So So your board will use this power supply 3.32 and this 5 volt line. And 3.31 is also used for bus system only. So you won't use these power lines. And the rest thing is 17, 18, and 19, 20. So 17 and 18 is assigned the UART line. So these two lines is communicate the bus system between the bus system and your MCU. So this pin you need to assign the UART line, transmission and reception, to communicate to our bus system. And the 19 and 20 is for the switching of your board. So we are going to put the 7 APRS payload. So we will need to switch one by one. So in that case, we will switch, we will turn on and turn off these 2 OCP lines to switch the board. So this OCP can work as a switch. So I think I explained all function. It is clear. Okay, I hope I answered the question. Thank you.
Can you check the next question? If the next question says, we're sorry for the audio. Can you listen to us right now? Is the audio better? We'll try to speak closer to the speaker. Sorry. Okay, so for the next question, it was how critical the positioning of the antenna connector. Does it need to be in the exact location, or is it being connected with a cable with some wiggle room? So the connection doesn't need to be exact as it placed on the drawing. I mean, of course, as close to the transceiver, the less loss that it will be. Right now, like with the dimensions of the board, there is some room to put it actually mostly wherever you want. It is better if you put it in the sides, because the cable will be connected to part of our bus system in the rear access board. We will have all the MCX connectors in there that goes to the antenna panels. So yes, the cables pass through the sides, but it's your decision right now. With the new dimensions, it's okay to put it wherever you want, as long as it's in the constrained dimensions. So the next question is in PIN assignments on programming IC's need for PIN for programming, IESTM, ICS. So could you please give a solution for this?
So basically, we have 40 pin connector to programming. So we assigned already some pins to program for design backplane satellite backplane. So because the mode will be programmed through the backplane. Through the back. So sorry. So basically, we cannot admit to use 4 lines to programming. So I ask you to find some MCU, it can program only 3 lines. So maybe this information can be updated, but basically it cannot be happen. So I think you should find some other MCU or something like that.
Is there any other question?
Is on related with the power budget consumption. Can you go to the slide, please? Or on the new one? Yeah. On the originally or the first ICD that we saw on that we downloaded on the website, we saw power consumption of for reception like 200 milliwatts, and now I see the new one is a higher value, so that's good for us. And I think also for the whole, for the whole participants. But for the TX, I see a reduction on the power consumption. On the originally was 3,000 milliwatts. Now I see almost half power reduced. And we because I asked this question because we are designing on our prototype for a TX or 3,000 milliwatts. And what is the reason that you reduce the reduce the power on the TX? So because now and our team, we are discussing that we don't know if we have still make a review considering on the component that we already bought for our design. And also, the second question is, what is the probability that to change again those values according to the deadline is very close? Thank you.
Okay, Luis, to answer your questions about the power consumption limitation, first we have to make again all the simulations about related to the APS, the power consumption of the whole satellite, and we find that we need to consider a reduction in order to keep the safety margin of power generation on the satellite. That is the reason that all the APRS boards have a cut in the power availability and in power consumption. That is the reason. But as you see before this in the ICD, you saw that the RX power, this availability, it was about 200 milliwatts. But since we have running new simulations and also we are designing, of course we want to give you as much power as is possible to you, but we try to solve also so many constraints we have in the designing of the satellite. As we close to the deadline to make all the satellite, we have more precise values about the power availability. And so that's the reason that we reduce the power consumption. available to all the payloads. And also that means that also that you need to reduce the power output of your transceiver. And that is, I think it's with that answer, I think it's correct. If you agree with that answer.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome. And also, I want to share with you that since there are so many amateur radio users, we want to express our greetings to the amateur radio community since the 18 April was celebrated the World Radio Amateur Day. So,
Hello. Yes, I have some questions. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
So about this power consumption, do you have like some tolerance? For example, if we consume like 310 milliwatts, this is like disqualifying from the competition, or it's just like less points to us?
I mean, so right now we're thinking about this is the limitation that we have. I mean, we're thinking about this power consumption as the maximum that we can allow you to use in our worst case scenario of power generation, right? So we cannot let you go up of these values. So this is the maximum. It means more. We will not allow. It will mean disqualification in this case. Let's say. Of course, I mean, as we mentioned, and Sarah mentioned and Javier mentioned, we are developing the satellite. So these values might change to go up or to go down at some point of the competition. Of course, we will try not to make changes anymore, considering that you already need to buy the components and all the changes that you are making, right? It represents something for you. So yes.
Okay, thank you. And I have another question about the outreach efforts.
Yes.
I understand that we need to create a social media account. Is that mandatory, or I didn't understand well that part?
I mean, I also to correct the previous, like we allocate some points for each section, right? So going over the power in this stage, it will not mean disqualification. It will mean you will get 0 points for this specific section, let's say. Of course, in the future, like in the next stage for the EM and stuff like that, it would mean completely that you lose disqualification, let's say. And for the social media thing, the same situation. We allocate some points for the outreach effort that every team does. So like the more that you share, like the more points you get. You have a maximum as presented in the first slide. So if you don't have any type of outreach, it's not necessarily social media. It's making events. It's how to say, there is different types of outreach. Of course, we value the social media. So yes, it would be better if you have.
Okay, thank you very much. Last question, sorry.
Yes.
For the isolate system, do we need to just explain how it's going to work, or how much detail do you want in that case?
So yes, I mean, as they mentioned already, in this phase, we are asking for as much detail as you can. So maybe some case study on how you could do this isolation system, how it will work, which which components it will use, or how exactly are you going to isolate yourself in case of any emergency. It's not that we're expecting anything bad to happen, but we do need this, like, just to see how well prepared you are in case of any type of situation, because we also need to comply with some safety requirements from JAXA and from our own university, let's say.
Okay, I understand. Thank you very much.
Yes, you're welcome. So there is another question about do we have complete freedom in regards to the component choices as long as we stick to mission requirements? Yes, in the components there is complete freedom as long as you stick to the ICD that we already posted, and the changes that we mentioned in this webinar are going to be posted in the next ICD that is going to drop soon. Also, the only thing that, like, please be careful is with the MCX connector of the board. As mentioned in the ICD, it needs to be an equivalent to the one that we mentioned in there. So for this type of situations, please always read the ICD in terms of the pin assignment, in terms of the mass, volume, and components that you can use. Is there any other questions? Also, I wanted to remind you, like in your outreach effort, if you make some post about the competition or some news happen in your country or something like that about the competition, please try to tag us so we can see it, because sometimes it's too much and we cannot reach to everything that is happening. Can we post the slides of this presentation? Yes, the slides and the recording of the presentations will be on the website. If not, I think we already have like most of the presentations in there. Is there any other question? Right now is a really good time to ask any questions, because all the team is here and we can answer in a moment. Okay, so I think I will give 5 minutes for any type of question that you want. We will be here waiting for any question. Remember that this is the last webinar that we will do for this phase. This phase, I think, is a critical one, because we will select the 10 finalists for the competition, and from these 10, we'll select the 5 payloads. So it's quite important. From here on, you're going to be developing already engineering model and flight model. So it's quite important to ask all the questions that you have.
Okay, so thank you for your question. So to answer all the N-channel receiver. So we are going to use we are going to use QTech has one GFT, one station terminal. So basically we are going to use this one. So how to say, the specific person didn't develop this one because it already existed. Is it clear?
So like, I mean, you will also need like a terminal to test, right? So you can do that one whatever way you want. There is another question on the any reference for the isolation and avoidance or interference section? I mean, launcher requirements. Yes, all these launcher requirements and interference, let's say avoidance, interference, and safety requirements can be found in the JAXA specifications requirements. I could put the link right now, like from where to get it in English. That's the basic one, but in general, there is some good practices for radio interference that you can make for your payload, like a radio shield, so something like that. And there is another. Yes, the question about, is this part of the participating teams work? Yes, I mean, for testing your payload, you will need to create your own end receiver. Is there any other question? Okay. So okay, so well, I think then we will probably finish this webinar. If you have any other questions, as all my colleagues mentioned, please send email to the BirdSex mailing list. We will answer to you. And to answer to a general question that we were receiving recently, for this phase and next phases, we're not going to give any type of deadline extensions. This is due to the fact that we have also a deadline to meet. So for us, it's going to be very hard if we make a deadline extension. So good luck in the process, and we expect to see your applications, and we will select the best of you. So thank you for all your participation. Goodbye. Is there a question? Okay. Thank you. Goodbye.